Hello and welcome to What the F Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. Welcome to day 1156. A federal appeals court blocked a Texas law that allows state police to arrest people who they suspect of illegally crossing the Texas-Mexico border hours after the Supreme Court allowed it to go into effect. The appeals court judges are now considering whether the law should remain on hold while its constitutionality is challenged in court. A district court ruled last month that the measure conflicts with federal immigration law. The law, known as Senate Bill 4, was signed by Republican Governor Greg Abbott in December and allows law enforcement to arrest and deport migrants if they suspect them of crossing the border illegally. However, Mexico's government said it would not under any circumstances accept the return of any migrants from Texas. Those who re-enter illegally after a deportation could also face felony charges, including up to 10 to 20 years in prison. Meanwhile, the Biden administration issued the strictest-ever rules for tailpipe emissions to ensure that the majority of new passenger cars and light trucks sold in the U.S. are all electric or hybrid by 2032. The new standards require automakers to reduce emissions by more than two-thirds by the year 2032, limits that are so stringent that they'll compel automakers to rapidly boost sales of electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles. In 2023, electric vehicles made up about 7.6% of all new car sales, but the new rule is targeting 35 to 56% for EVs in 2032 and 13% to 36% for plug-in hybrids. The rule will prevent 7.2 billion metric tons of carbon emissions from entering the atmosphere through the year 2055, roughly 4 times the total emissions of the transportation sector as of 2021. Meanwhile, the Biden administration also awarded roughly $20 billion in grants and loans to Intel to fund an expansion of its semiconductor factories across 4 U.S. states. The funding comes from the 2022 CHIPS and Science Act, which provides $53 billion in subsidies to boost the U.S. production of semiconductors. Most of the world's advanced chips are currently made in Asia. The government grant is the largest award yet from the CHIPS Act and will go to the construction and expansion of Intel chip facilities in Arizona, Ohio, New Mexico, and Oregon. The projects are expected to create more than 10,000 manufacturing jobs and roughly 20,000 construction jobs. Moving on, the Federal Reserve left interest rates unchanged, but said it still expects to cut rates 3 times in 2024. Committee members held the rates steady at about 5.3%, a 23-year high. Inflation has eased considerably since hitting a 40-year high of 9.1% in 2022, and Fed officials now predict inflation will end the year at 2.6%. As of February, inflation was at 3.2%. And finally, Alabama Republicans passed legislation that bans state funding for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in public schools, universities, and state agencies. The law imposes restrictions on 8 so-called divisive concepts surrounding race, personal identity, and gender, and requires public colleges to designate bathrooms for use by individuals based on their biological sex. Governor Kay Ivey signed the bill into law, and it will take effect on October 1st. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditis.